Psychiatric drugs are neurotoxins. They poison the brain. They injure brain cells. They cause severe biochemical imbalances. They are tailored to do this. They're tailored to cross the blood-brain barrier and disrupt the mind and behavior. That's psychiatry. They really don't think. This is the truth. It's dangerous to start psychiatric drugs. It's dangerous to change the dose up or down. It's dangerous to stop them. Because you see, the brain is at war, constantly at war with whatever psychiatric drug you're taking, because it experiences it as a neurotoxin. And I'm going to explain that to you a little bit more. So the brain constantly is trying to reach some safe equilibrium with the drug. So when your doctor starts, then it's a big shock. And your doctor, when you start getting really weird in the beginning on the drug, will say, no, that can't be. It doesn't have an effect until 6 weeks. Now, the reason they say it doesn't have an effect until 6 weeks is the drugs don't work at all, really, in their clinical trials, so they're assuming they start working at 6 or 8 weeks. The trials are only 6 weeks, or 4 weeks. Or in the case of the Adderall XR, you're giving the kids 3 weeks. That's all the trials are. Why? Because how long can people stand a neurotoxin? You'll have more adverse effects than you can imagine as you continue taking the drug. Probably all psychiatric drugs cause withdrawal symptoms because the brain has changed. So you're with your unprotected brain that's no longer balancing itself against the toxin. And that's how all withdrawal occurs. And in addition, on top of that, stimulants and benzodiazepine tranquilizers, the stimulants we give our kids, Adderall, which is amphetamine, and Ritalin, which is very much like amphetamine, Focalin, and the benzos like Xanax and Ativan, clonazepam, they're all grossly addictive and can be extremely hard to get off of. So a warning, withdrawal from psychiatric drugs can cause so much emotional suffering that you can't get off them. And I've seen people who've been on these drugs for a long time agonize down to droppers of Prozac, trying to get off these drugs. They change the brain so dramatically that some people don't get off of them, especially if you've been on combinations for many months and years. This is also true of all psychoactive substances. It's just that these drugs are worse. It's harder to get off a lot of these drugs than to get off of heroin. These drugs are more damaging than the opiates, most of them. More damaging than the opiates, and they can be harder to get off than the opiates. Not that I like opiates. But marijuana, the psychoactive portion of marijuana, everything I'm saying about antipsychotics is true, and alcohol, because they're all neurotoxins. That's the only way you can get something so strong in the brain that it changes the brain. It changes it by mucking it up, disabling it. There's no way to tweak that and make it better except by improving your health, your nutrition. And I don't mean necessarily supplements at all. It's about good eating, the plant-based diet, by exercise, by improving your spiritual state. In my practice, I help a lot of people injured by drugs come off the medications and learn a spiritual attitude toward themselves, which says, I'm not my brain. I'm a spirit, a soul, and if you don't have that spiritual concept of personality and identity, I can organize myself and actually become more loving, more responsible, and therefore happier than I was to begin with. And that's the work I do. So many studies confirm that psychiatric drugs do more harm than good. It is impossible to prove that any psychiatric drug is helpful long term. There are hundreds of studies about how damaging they are. They all basically are going to do something similar. So it's not just this the synapse I showed you that's getting disrupted. The blood-brain barrier is getting harmed by a lot of the drugs, the mitochondrial functions, the cell membranes. It's madness that psychiatrists poison their patients. It's the history. They think they're so much better now.